And the just the level of tuition, now the single, Siba, Toba, the Tuition, Mado, Chipot, Kosovo, and Jagola Mosonga, Chipitsiba, Labrichi was subject and the Jesuit.
So we begin by setting our motivation to do whatever we possibly can to attain the peerless state of enlightenment in order to benefit all sentient beings. Knowing that to attain this state I must perfect all the trainings on the Bodhisattva path. To do that I must gain a thorough understanding of what those trainings are based on a non-mistaken presentation. And so with this in mind I am here this morning to a brief explanation on the outlines of the great treatise of the stages of the path to enlightenment as composed by the great Lama Tsongkhapa. Sokran gyatang dunju dokshi dok trukte de nibati nibate konani den la papa moba la son Gyatang dunju dok truk
You were the honey, telephone, Dire. You were the honey, telepaper, more assume. Rebecca Jamosua, Degoba, Terran Kanji Cheba, Cheba de la Tennis, a Tawa Gula gave it to Loja. Gula gave it to Loja, what a subject. Soon.
So we had stopped last week at on your outlines. You will see it on page 376, chapter 10, identifying the object to be negated. It's the first of those outlines, the actual determination of reality. And so this is dealt with three specific points. The first being identifying the object to be negated by reason. And secondly, whether to carry out that refutation with a Svatantrika or Prasangika procedure. And thirdly, on the basis of that application of reason, how then to give rise to the view in one's own mind stream. And then with the first of these, identifying the object to be negated by reason, it has three further subheadings. Why the object of negation must be carefully identified, as you can see there. Refuting other systems that refute or negate without identifying the object to be negated. And the third one, there's a C there that's coming later. And that is the how we, in our tradition, recognize the object to be negated.
Chiji Maloba, Mingavias, Kaja Leva Mosaba, Gate Then go Masinaya, Dunga Masimba Yana, Doctor, Yana Cheta, Demisava, get the Chirosa.
And so the first of these then, why the object of negation must be carefully identified. So here it's looking at terms such as selfless and having or lacking intrinsic existence. So we need to be certain of the meaning of those terms in order to be able to carefully identify the self or the intrinsic nature that does not exist. And so it's saying that if we have not got a clear concept of the object to be negated in those terms, then we will not be able to have an accurate knowledge of its negation. And so it's so important to be able to recognize the object of negation or the object to be negated very clearly, because without that we will be in great danger of falling into either the extreme of eternalism or an internalistic position or a nihilistic position.
아니 노래 내가 되고 그도와 강 가고에 가자디 덴바 둠나 가디스 두고 그래 덴바 둠나 가디스 두고 그래 아니 두고 그래서 덴바 둠나 가디스 두고 그래 아니 이 야보지 내봐이나 덴바 두바이나 오다 데데시 인고 그래 아니 딘 민두화 쓰겠지 다 뭐저 저봐 다 즉 가서도 데네 뭐 맞은 바 오게 야나 가자 가바이나 잡채다가 가네 아니 최탐제 매버 다도에 구조고 최대도 샤마시 마차에 야나네 가서 딱다라 놓더라 다 내가 준 것도 봐 채다 야나 딱다 된들 후에 내가 줘 그래서 가자디 야와 무슨 바이나 딱 그자 먼저 저 따와 검검서 변에 오메 따와 검서 또 돈이 검검서 각자 각삼 대가라다 즉 가서다 가자자 셈샤네 아니 디 각자 덴바투바 두자메 바체다 가서다 증여가 네투에다 안디 또투에 체도 아니 오메 따와 검스기 여봐 당부 퇴바체 퇴베도 양네 양도 삼로 땅제네단 아니 가서다 삼조기 셰라게 안 삼조기 셰라게네 안 예베 되는데라 안 셈제지도 샤네 안 검조기 셰라게 바체 구구 여봐.
And so here it's again being highly emphasized how important it is to recognize the object to be negated clearly and accurately. So if we look at, say, the proposition that phenomena are truly established, so we have to understand what actually is meant by that. What does that infer? What is the exact meaning behind truly established? And so once we are able to know what is supposed to exist in that way, then we can work towards understanding how it does not exist, what of it does not exist. And so in this way we avoid the extremes as mentioned there, extremes of eternalism and nihilism. Because if we overextend the object of negation, then we might conclude that if we find out that things lack any true establishment or true existence, that we might be in danger of concluding therefore in any way that therefore all phenomena lack any existence, and so we negate conventional existence as well as ultimate existence. So the actual great deal of what is meant by meditating on the middle way view is about accurately identifying the object to be negated. And so this is it's called the middle way because it's this guarantor of avoiding the two extremes of eternalism and nihilism. So we can posit some existence, even though from an ultimate point of view we establish that phenomena lack any objective or true existence, even at the atomical level. So this is what is meant also by the process of approaching Buddhist subject matter with the threefold approach of learning, the basic information, and then gaining the wisdom arising from that kind of surface approach to the information, and then deepening it through the wisdom arising from contemplation, where we gain conviction using reasoning about what we have learned. And then we deepen that into the realizational stage through the wisdom arising from meditation. So we have this learning, and we have contemplation, and we have meditation applied in sync in order to be able to penetrate through to this kind of knowledge.
다 간제 각자들 레벨을 모르스 바이나 각자 레벨 모르스 바이나 다 아니 가서데 유대네 두바 요마리 유대네 두베 동아리 슬런데 아니 유다한테 때네 두반데 메도레다 지금 아니 가서데 예반예 투에지 때네 두바메도 메다데 예반예 투에지 그래서 각자 야보 모르스 바이나 아니 지 가서래 저기 그 유대네 두마도 계제 시고 하면 지다 유에만 계제 시고 요 말봐 지다 유에만 계제 시고 말 지난 거 근데 지금 이제 지다 유에만 계제 유대네 두마도 계제 시고도 다 유대네 마도 바이나 다 때네 두마도 조사미도 삼사게 거기 가서데 예바 대투에지 때네 두바에 쓰도 유대네 두바 용사 말이야 삼사다 가자 문에 다네 그 저기 리베 때라 밥도 바이나 다 데레지만 요고 데레지를 밥사 데레지를 밥고 요 와다 데레지 밥도 바데 예바 대투에지
And so again, the payoff really of really recognizing well, understanding well the object to be negated is that when we establish that through our reasoned analysis that phenomena lack any objective existence, it will point to how they do exist as opposed to a conclusion that therefore they do not exist. And so it's avoiding carefully that extreme through recognizing the object to be negated very well. So this conviction and this process is engaged through reasoning. So when we apply a reasoned analysis, we can ascertain the correct identification of the object of negation.
다 니바 가자 아서 뭐마 심바 고베 실로 가바들 니잖아 가자 무슨 하장 캡처와 가바다 무슨 캡처와 가바 뭐지 니제.
So the second of the subheadings on that page 376 is refuting other systems that refute or negate without identifying the object to be negated. And so it's pointing out the problems that other systems have in this very process of identifying the object to be negated. And this is dealt with under two subheadings. First is the problem of an overly broad identification of the object of negation, and the problem of an overly restricted identification of the object of negation.
다 당부대 가자 무슨 하장 캡처와 가바들 니잖아 되바 저와 때미때 바때 봐 오자 다 당부 되바 저와데 다다 오면 되마와 또 페모체에서 나래에서 아니 페모체 나래 개와로서 바때 코나니도 두마도 주베 리베니 소네 남진제 바지 최탑제 개관 인데서 진다와시 켈람발라 리베 제바 제나 다스바 뒤점점 내라다 리베 제바 제와도 다 초커지 샤와이네 아니 그래서 다 다스바치 니 요거 뒤점점 내라 아니 예매라 소베 무시 탐제 까베 치다 데코나니 시베 파베 이시게 개가다 징조소 메바 시베나 대 셰와다 인코베스다 파베 냠샤 이시게 싱월라 쳬탐제 데베 동점 다가라 구조베 쳬다 로이드 차고 요마르와 보다다 다디 파베 냠샤 이시게 싱월다 요고 그랬어 싱월다 요고 요바 인사 아니 구조베 쳬디가 되 디 싱월라 메바 인사다 메투고 도스가 다 게데데데 바데 이네다 다 코란족이 켈란다 삼로당다 제바이나 디스거다 징조소 메바 시베나 데 셰와다 징조소 덴바 메바 시바르마도 메바 시바 마르와 그것들이 개발요 된다디 개발 맞지 맞지는 거다 코란족 도바기고 어가서 삼로들이 스타한테 요라 메바 시베나 데 셰와다 인코에서 개와서 메도 게데 개와서 되나 데라서 데니주베서 리베 다들이 켈레만 데니주베 리베 뉴크도스 데니주베다 라시 쳬탐제 라시 뚜다 마토 주베 리베 뉴크도스 제스 미세바다 아니 체메 두마도 따나 미텔라 아 되는 담바 깨워고 봐 뭐지 따네 거베 미케 바르서 교로시에서 다 그러죠 왔다 데제다다 가서 지금 딱 지난 그 쳬탐제 내가 찾고도 스파베 남자기 싱월라 딱 가서 대다 단제 딱 가서 대배 동화 매되겠지 매되다 구조배 줬다 파바냠샤 이제 생활라 돈이 바시스 버와 돈이 바시스 버와다 와 돈이 바시스 버와 다 되게 그저 조금 찍고 다 되고 구조배 집에 떼라 받다다 따와 떼라 받다 따와 떼라 밥에 칼라 아니 구조배 ჩვენ 나그 요마르 지다 구조배 좀 나와 말아 따와 떼라 밥에 칼라 동바 바시나한테 그러다. 그 따와 될 거고 예 라디 여다데 근데도 제가 지금 여러면도 군족은 내다데 근데도 제가 지금 요마르 봐. 군족은 내다라다. 그러나 군족은 내다 가니 봐도 내다 다랑 대대 그때 이내 뒤 랑싱가 좀 모두 제가 제오지. 랑싱가 좀 모두 제가 줘도 랑싱가 좀 모두 뒤사에 되게 말 봐.
So we'll take the first of these, the problem of an overly broad identification of the object of negation. And so this is going to be looked at from two points of view, or in two ways. One is stating others' assertions, and two, stating that they are wrong. So the first of these is stating others' assertions. Here it's saying that many of those who today claim to teach the Madhyamaka viewpoint, they claim that that when it comes to the rational analysis of whether production, etc., exist as their own reality, that they refute all phenomena from form right through to omniscience, and say that from that point of view nothing exists. So anything from their point of view that is put forward when it is subject to reasoned analysis, they say that it in no way can stand up to that reasoned analysis, and so does not exist even at the atomical level. So in this way they refute all phenomena in terms of the four alternatives, and say that things, all existence, lack existence in terms of the four alternatives. And so they also, say, they kind of point out that from their position is proved by pointing out that the meditative equipoise of an Arya being in perceiving reality, they see that production, cessation, bondage, freedom. All of those phenomena do not exist in the least. They see them as not existing even in the least. And they conclude that since things must be just as this kind of wisdom sees them, in other words, the wisdom of meditative equipoise of an Arya being, then this must be the case, that phenomena do not exist at all. And so when we then, say from the true Madhyamaka point of view, point out that we do assert production, and they say that then you have to see how, whether does it actually stand up to reasoned analysis, or does valid cognition establish such an assertion. And they, from their point of view, when you subject these production or cessation, etc., in terms of the four alternatives, to reasoned analysis, and you find that it is not refuted by such, that is a mistake, and that if it's subject to and to such analysis, and it withstands such analysis, then you have a problem on your hands. So what the problem is here, and these are of course the opponents, or those who are seen to be mistaken in their presentation of the Madhyamaka viewpoint, is that they are conflating what is being analyzed in such analysis. So what this analysis is really ultimate analysis. The subject matter, for example, of a wisdom of meditative equipoise of an Arya being is centered on whether phenomena have intrinsic existence or not. In other words, it's looking at their ultimate status of being, and it is not concerned with conventional reality. It's not asking questions about how a phenomena conventionally exists or functions or anything like that. It's simply focused on the lack of intrinsic existence of phenomena. And so what these people are mistaking is they're conflating that with, thinking that sort of analysis covers all ways of existing for phenomena. And so they're overextending the object of negation.
군조배 추에 땡라 법단데 배나 매이나 메코랑 그랑신데 차시 세바임베 추이나 레지 세바임베 코란 조다 줘봐. 그 체르부지 제디. 코란 체르부 덴데지게 또 배나 차시 세바 덴데지라 오 메시지. 오 레지 세바데 오 추이랑 신세지. 그러다 배나 미나 오 미스게 맛이 된거와. 덴데지라 미시지 딱그 덴데 군조배 내다 조다 줘봐. 그러 다 대잠라 참마샤와 제네 대잠라 참마샤와 제네 이 랑신 그래도 뭐 여기 내주도 마다 저 가서도 대바둑다 마둑 제바제도 그 랑신을 제바치고 열봐 그 진짜 조당 로가르와 조당 로가치래 되고와
So that when we look into this view of intrinsic nature, there's like two streams of analysis. One is looking at the conventional existence of phenomena, or the relative existence of phenomena, and to seeing again approaching them in the sense of what exists, what doesn't exist, and what are the characteristics of conventional phenomena in terms of a human being, how is a human being defined, and so on. And so, but this is not that phenomena are dealt with not only in this relative or conventional way, or through this conventional analysis, but also through the ultimate analysis of asking the question, do they or how do they intrinsically exist, or ultimately or truly exist, And this is, of course, a different level of analysis, of analytical reasoning.
다 된데디 아니 그 유대는 좀 맞우데 제바제도 안고 그 랑시 타도들 제바지고 열봐 랑시 타도들 제바지고 열봐
So, for example, topic matter for conventional analysis would be looking at phenomena in terms of their impermanence, for example, examining the impermanent aspect of a phenomena, or in terms of like a worldly functioning. How, for example, the law of cause and effect operates in the world. You'll be looking at analyzing things like causes in terms of their substantial cause, their cooperative conditions, and how do these come together, how do these impact and combine to bring about ripened results, etc. All of this is in the realm of conventional reality and conventional analysis. And thereafter, one will get to examine, okay, what is the way in which these things exist. Now, when you're starting to examine that, you're stepping into ultimate reality and ultimate analysis of that reality. And so the question is here, you're asking in ultimate analysis is, what is the final or ultimate status of these phenomena? So, for example, when we talk or refer to the meditative equipoise of an Arya being, the wisdom of that, it's not to such a mind, the whole presentation of the law of cause and effect in terms of this cause leading to this effect, etc. This is not what appears to that mind, because that's not the subject matter of that wisdom. What the Arya being is examining is actually abiding in is the mere negation of the object of negation as the kind of the end result of an ultimate analysis. And so when that Arya being arises from that meditative equipoise, then, of course, that phenomena again will appear to that mind in a conventional manner. But even though that phenomena arise and appear in that conventional way, that the Arya being does not accede to their appearance, to their existing in the way that they appear. That Arya being is aware, has a cognition that they are lacking any intrinsic reality. And so that they appear as if they had some sort of intrinsic or objective existence, yes, but that is no longer acceded to by that mind. That mind realizes that they do not exist in the way that they appear, that they lack just such a mode of existence.
지가서 쟁아 잡에게 신라 소바 돌라 소바게 ene 랑고 쳇다 다타부터 주용고 와 주마켄키 가서 주마켄 칼레
A magician.
야 주마켄 주용도 주마켄 코랑이 띠따 많이 발랑고 쳇 많이 받은 예되고 요바 통에 따라 랑고 쳇 난거 요때 ene 따라 랑고 쳇 많이 받은 예되고 요바 예되고 요라 와다 되나시 쳇네 나에 돼 따라 나와 얘네 아니 돼 따라 많이 받은 예되고 요래 보다 되나시 밥에 냠샤이 시 제도를想원도 아니 유대도 만나게 요때 나와도 맞주거든 예되고 요라
So it's like that image that's used of the magician who, through casting spells on stones, etc., causes horses and elephants to appear in space. And that so there are viewers who see them. The magician, of course, sees them as well. They appear to the magician's mind. But he is like the Arya in meditative equipoise. Though they appear, the Arya being having arisen from meditative equipoise, though they appear to the magician's mind, he knows that they are just creations that he has made from spells, and so he does not believe on their true existence. He does not accede to their being objectively existent, and can actually understand that they are just appearances. And so this is the same as the Arya being having arisen from such meditative equipoise, that they can be seen, phenomena arise as if they had this intrinsic existence, but that mind sees through that, and that they do not actually exist like that, that they see that they do not believe in the way that they appear.
아니 될라데네 아니 차단로서 로티 기기요 말봐 다 차단로서 로티가 건가 유대는 두바 나와도 짐바라데네 차단로서 로티가 기기요 봐.
So what's significant about that is that when such a being isn't fooled, as it were, as to the appearance of these objects, thereafter attachment and aversion towards these various objects does not arise. So because the mind does not grasp them as truly or objectively existent. And so thereafter, then the attachment to them or aversion from them does not arise, and thereafter one does not engage in negative karmas and so on.
검시 체다잖아 나와도 차고요 말봐 나와도 차고요 말다 뭐저 제바제다 지금 뭐저 배나 콘트롤에서 되샤지 깨원도 배나 되샤지 깨원도 자탕 바치게 피게 되샤께서 유대 레바도 야가시 통한테도 와 콘트롤 깨원도 뭐다 자탕 바도 자주 통한테도 와 피내 좀 되겠지 딱 우리 내줄 때 말때 이나야 다 가서래다 나라둘라데 가서데 지가서데 토만다바네다 가서데 고바슈 첨부 요바 인사 안 되게 원기 지가서데 요한테도 왔다 되네 지다 저 우메슈 되게 지고 삼로스다 거지 또 지금 된다 또 제바 지기나 아니 신나 또 된다라다 레몬도 아삼삼치 그 숙청다 도대지 용도 와 요가 열봐 요다 다 되게 곰네 용신에 다 못이는 곰 간자서나 그 숙청다 주도 간자서나 자원이 매버터지 도샤데 시다라서 자원이 기주 매버지 가서 그때 로트바지게 제수 타는 아다 아니 곰배 곰비 용한테 요봐
So for us, however, that we are very much prone to operating out of attachment on the one hand and aversion on the other. And this is due to a very strong habituation to this mistaken attitude. And so that we must begin to actually pause and analyze our reactions. And so, for example, if we are attached to something or someone, that this notion that they or it is 100% good, and I therefore must have it. And so this is the extreme of where attachment brings you. And that anger, on the other hand, is of course determined to see the other, the one who's causing, we think, the anger, as 100% wrong. It's their fault. And so this aversion comes in very strongly due to the anger. So this is something that we have been habituated to since beginningless time, and what the Madhyamaka or middle way viewpoint through these the texts is the more we become familiar with that view or what's being presented there, the more we can reduce or oppose this habitual reaction when anger, when attachment and aversion or anger arises in that way. So when we kind of continuously rely on the middle way viewpoint through familiarizing ourselves, through habituating ourselves to that viewpoint, we can reach a point where we can uproot attachment and aversion completely, and realize that we have been operating under this mistaken concept or mind for so long. So, the basis of this attachment and aversion is the sense of I or self that we have very powerfully in our minds, habituated to, as is that which has been cultivated in our minds. And that this sort of notion of something that is independent, self-established, and that on the one hand, that when it is operating through attachment, has this sense that by getting the object of attachment, it will benefit me. And through the notion of anger, is that through this person or thing or event that is causing my anger and aversion is going to harm me. So we have this sense that at the basis of all that is this sense of a self-entity that is like a king, like a controller, something pulling the strings in our system, our mind-body system, something that we can actually point to. It feels definitely almost solid, almost is really there. And so this, and this then is there, like it appears like that to be the case in our system, that we have this entity that is justifying attachment and is wanting to dispel all or the objects of my aversion, and so the protection of that self.
what it is that the into masking the moon ngadi nga mebata mare nga yorde nga yoda the to get serve you na the to get mutu cheba che the taka the to get mutu cheba che tante what that ka je rangile cheba che tante wa rangsin cheba che tante wa that rangsin cheba che tante ta nga yoda the condition to cheba che to zu sa de sin yeba so to yoba de zai joba to da zai jo de ani 다 지금 랑 류된라 제조바 이네다 랑 생베된라 제조바 이네다 루셈 미레 셴베게 제조사지 요 말이 야나 류이 거리 야나서 야나 딜레 셴베 가스 주고서서 그런 얘기 요 말이 주고서서 많이 와한테 다 내다디 딜레 차대로 거 다디 갈다 같은 거서 나랑 신기 맞주 같이 나랑 신기 맞주 같이 랑신거 두고요나 저기 가서도 라시고 좋아 야나 류셈다 류땡데 니고리 야나 셈게 땡데 링고다 다 딜레시 바지 니스치는 민도 다 덴데 와다 간제 저 가서도 나 라싱게 두마두 제바치도 많이 받디 내다 다가라래 그 유된데 두고요 말이 유된데 마두와 인사 그 니세요 말이 다 유단데 가래서는 야나 차셔라 때봐 또베 다 또베 샤섬 what did it?
So therefore, this sense of a self-entity that's so defined in that way, that we have, that we, when we actually look into it, it's not that we conclude that there is no self, that there is a sense of the existence of a self, but what we're analyzing in the meditation, when we come to do the reasoned analysis, we're looking into the existence or not of this so-called intrinsic existence of a self, this self-established, this objectively existent self. And so we want to know that the kind of the nature of that existence, and so we want to be able to find that which we feel can be pointed to in the whole concept of self-entity. So when you put that to analysis, when you actually go in and analyze through looking into the body for that which ought to be pointed to, look into the mind likewise to see how such a self-established or intrinsically existent self can exist, it's not found. Such a self is not found. And so what does that infer? What do we conclude from that not finding? We conclude that there is no such self that exists intrinsically. If it did, it must be found. It must be pointed out in either body or mind. But it's not finding. It's not being found. The not finding of that intrinsic existence is pointing to how actually the self does exist. It exists in dependence upon parts, or in dependence upon merely being imputed by thought. So this concluding that such a self lacks any intrinsic existence needs to lead to the question of then how does it exist, and immediately from that that it exists, therefore, in dependence. It is that which arises or exists in dependence. This is the valid way in which a self exists.
지다 유매 계셔버라 라싱 유다 매게지 시고 요르면도 지다 유매게 유매게지 시고 요 말에 지다 유매데다 거 용해 두고 요르 봐나 유다 메서 용해 두고 요르 다들 라싱 좀도 좀 모두 제바 제원도 다 라싱 마주와이나 때는 용서면도 조사 매바 인조 그 매바 갈 홍고에 모두 봐.
And so this is the fault of this overbroad identification of the object of negation. And that those who fall into that fault then fail to define really what the object of negation is properly. So that when one is engaged in such analysis, one is in terms of analyzing the object of negation, the question being analyzed is whether a phenomena under analysis exists intrinsically or not, and that it's not the question of whether it exists or not. This is the problem. So for them, and that they might conclude that because a phenomena lacks any intrinsic existence, therefore it doesn't exist at all. So there's an exaggeration really of the object of a negation. But common sense will help us to avoid that, because even though we conclude that phenomena or self lacks any intrinsic existence, we know that I, self, does exist because I experience that self. I function and I experience that self. And so that therefore that the proper analysis of intrinsic existence should conclude, yes, that the self under analysis lacks any intrinsic existence because it arises in dependence. And so this is the proper way of identifying the object to be negated.
다 디샤베나 체리바 수이 바이네 체리바다 베나 지가 소리 퀀텀 피지크다 tinsuki 답에 유대는 좀 자꾸 샤사민도 쓰네 체리바 코나주게 못 들고도.
So this is the issue too with scientists when they look into issues like this, the existence of phenomena, that they conclude that if they cannot posit an objective existence for a phenomena, therefore they cannot posit existence at all for that phenomena. So this is again falling into that fault.
속생의 취를 잡다 그래서 딱시나 요죠 레투에 그 속생의 취를 자기 요때 뭐다 조단 찍어지냐로 와 조단 찍어지냐 그 뭐요 근데 좀 조단 찍어지냐래.
And so on the other hand, they have made progress in terms of coming to the point of view now that in the analysis of matter, of course, which is the realm of kind of classic science analysis, that they have concluded that matter does not exist objectively. Yes, that it does not exist objectively. So and so this is kind of very similar in at least to part of the analysis as from the Majjhimaka point of view.
콘서 배제 망체지 배제 샘잠에 다와다 차추마르지 차추마르지 엄마 바라다 리기요 마 독배 딱 잠사대 샤이 도스 카부이도.
So it's probably they have arrived kind of in a similar sort of region to the mind-only point of view as far as Buddhist tenets are concerned. It's it's difficult to see how they have reached the middle way point of view or the Majamaka viewpoint, where we're positing that phenomena exist merely being imputed by thought. I think the scientists are some way away from that still.
도스 두거 아니까지 가서도 퇴중고 셋업게 삼중고 셋업 검중고 셋업게네 다지 연구도 나한테 도스 도다 그나도 도스 가부 인트다한테 잘
디센릭 포텐셜
오래 도스인데 도스인데 하고스인데 도스인데 건네주 도스로 같이 버려.
And so, however,
and
so, and yet, the progress of reaching this point of analyzing phenomena and not finding any ultimate mode of existence for phenomena, that they lack any objective existence, or lack any intrinsic existence, when they can reach these conclusions, certainly it's a very progressive point of view, but that and the Majamaka point of view are still quite different.
What did you say? Jule tebu yongye, ju sangele tebu sangye yongtiye. Ranshinga matuba yimba yinza, what you got it. That Ranshinga druba yimba yina, and a jotab yomari, juatana yomari. And Lobjon Jamaji yomari, Kasana, juatana yomarwa. Yamne Jamaji yomari. And Yamne Jehora Mavachari, or Ranshinga druba yina. Then simja ranshinga tubaina, simja sangye yomarina. Pugu ranshinga tubaina, pugu chimbuchaya yomarina. But the ranshinga troops on a troops at Hagogua. Ranshinga troops are doing, uncle because of the duate make and the Gadu in a year much. Some magic in the Koranshinga Matubata, Ranshinga troops at that. The Amana Yet, Gadu in a year tickets, and duate make it go your one. Then there's a member that started to call Ranshinga Matubata in the Yorima.
So another characteristic, of course, of lacking intrinsic existence is that it validates or allows for change, for the proper functioning of the law of cause and effect. That if a certain cause is created, it will lead to a specific result, etc. All of this is possible because phenomena lack any intrinsic existence. If it was the case that things existed intrinsically from their own side, objectively, and none of this would be possible. Change would not be possible. Study would be pointless. You couldn't. There'd be no result of practice. There'd be no Buddhahood. A child would never grow up to be an adult. That things would always have to be as they are if they were intrinsically existent. Change, transformation would not be possible. And so even then, through such common sense observance, we can see that actually phenomena lack such intrinsic existence, such objective existence. They could not, we can see that phenomena sometimes are existing, sometimes they go out of existence, and so on. This is again showing us that actually phenomena arise and exist, abide, and so on, in dependence, and so therefore they cannot be independent, they cannot be objective. And so this shows the true nature of reality.
Samsung garazo kibu yore kemo jegi yore Samsung gozo kibu yomare mugu yore 다 망부 좋아한테도 그 갈때 같은 거서는 그 라싱 맞추면 다 된거요. 그 줄에 된거 여서 안 줄에 좀 되고 좋아한테도.
And so again, from our own experience, sometimes we're happy and we laugh, sometimes we're unhappy and we cry, and this shows that we lack any true objective existence, and that it's kind of it's a natural way of being, the true way of naturally a way of being. And if we had a true existence or objective existence, that none of this display of emotion would ever be possible. You'd have to stay static as you are.
근데 이만해서 나라도 대화 되고 여러 동네 되고 요매번에서 아니 대외 유튜브나 대화 연대 동네 유가나 아니 동네 마요에 어다티 갑시다 당글라고 요 되기도.
And so the fact of the matter is that we are lacking any such inherent existence or intrinsic existence, and this allows for the validity of us to create virtue in order to experience happiness, and to put a stop to non-virtue in order to avoid suffering. So it's something that makes sense of the path that we're on and the practice that we engage in.
근데 이마서 다도 뒤좀 정보를 붙인 게 다데 남배 체리 남배 따와 남배 최선 대저 숨치는 것도 와. 근데 이제 남배 체리다 남배 따와니티 그 지금 시행의 남자리스 이 관계 시행과지 최케레 말이 출루 쓰베네 아니 고창도는 야부요레스. 그래서는 소소가 다 지금 시행야지 줘야 팬되고 요와. 시행의 내다 남배 최선도 그 남바지게 제를 뭐도 시바지게 제 말와. 그래서 거기 대주숨 대전 야와 채는 것도 시구리 개체 뭐 있어래. 그래서 다들 그래서 대화 지구에 지지 지구를 그 추격계적 말와. 다들 신내주 가래. 뭐 내당 근데시래. 안티 이거 근데 스테이도 좋아데 태바도 내다 대대신 맞아 뒤 좋아 태기 요래. 스쿼 거기 가서도 내줘 로스그래. 그 좋다 치러다.
And this is why His Holiness, presents the whole subject matter of the Dharma, categorizing it into three main categories of, the scientific presentation, the presentation of the view, and then the presentation of what is religious practice, or that which is really solely for Buddhists. But the first two categories of the scientific presentation and the presentation of the view is presented and considered as universal information, or the natural law of things. And so whether one is spiritual or not, whether one is religious or not, it doesn't matter. This applies to all, and one doesn't have to take up a religious banner or anything in order to practice it and to be benefited from it.
가서는 먼저 메도베 동에 뭐유가 내주 마시는 용한테게. 다 뭐유가 내주 가서 시바이나 동에도 슈촌도 주고 와. 또 다로 와.
And so that the undesirable suffering that we go through is true because of being unaware of the true reality of phenomena, of things. And so that by becoming aware of the actuality of life, the actuality of phenomena, and that we can certainly do a lot about avoiding that which is undesirable for us in the guise of such suffering.
지당 먼저 들어가서 신윤기 즉 신윤 대단적으로 도스 양첨으로 찾아야 합니다. 들어가서 신윤 롭전 제거 좀 제조한테 마음을 내가 야보지라야 마음을 라자 침보지라야 아니 그래서 아니 롭전 들라 디마ን드 마을로 가대요네. 그러다 델레지라 도나지는 신윤 제대로 열어 봐. 문에 신윤 너한테 말 문에 신윤스도 뭔가 세 들어와. 마시바한테 매워 써야 될 롭전 제스가 열어 봐.
And this is kind of shows, like, in a way, it's sort of rather pathetic, really, the way modern education is conducted and the way it is advancing nowadays, where one is being educated in order to get a good job, to get a high salary, and that what is on the syllabus is seen to be that which is demanded by the public and so on. And so it leaves modern education as something which is hobbled and blind in many ways. It's like operating through a certain sort of confused blindness or ignorance, without any intention paid to the actuality of reality of what's going on, what can really be of a long-term benefit in a single life.
그래서 오늘 저는 럽종 제서 럽종 가르쳐서 마신 바데 심바소에서 럽종 제서 거라 럽종스 거라.
So like what is education for? Isn't it like isn't education about informing one about what one does not understand or not know? Isn't it? To become aware of what you do not understand or are not aware of. Eradicating confusion. Isn't this the point of education? And so that's yes, but nowadays, with such a narrow syllabus or objectives or aims for education, meaning that you're only training students for work or for wealth, and so on. It's sort of kind of really, in a way, really missing the point in many ways, and that this results in that adults who kind of then who leave school are unhappy, discontented, and don't know what to do about it. So getting a good job and getting becoming wealthy, like just like not really the objectives of education. These are kind of side effects that one can or can have, but the main objective of education is again missing. Which is to eradicate confusion, eradicate ignorance. So the next headline was showing that these assertions are wrong. So what has just been pointed out, and the first this is two points to it. It's showing how those systems contradict the unique feature of Madhyamaka, and the second is showing that the Madhyamaka critique does not eradicate conventional existence. On the very bottom of that page there. And then with the first of these, showing that these systems contradict the unique features of Madhyamaka. We can see this has an A, B, and C, three points to it, and they are identifying the distinguishing feature of the Madhyamaka. What is that then? B, how those systems contradict this distinguishing feature of Madhyamaka. And see how Madhyamaka responds, or Madhyamika responds to those who negate the distinguishing feature of Madhyamaka.
사발라 라리라서 대야 군조에서 주된 남지 주텔에 편유다 내미게 저부터다 대주에 준대게서 제와라 예바 띵 타바는 동바 진입발라 예바 토바다 최어서 탐제라 랑기 고베투베 라제 두점야 매바 예바 띵네 예바 지다와라 예바 토베 예바 토발라 예바 되대서 예바 되대 예바 되 대니가 매나 탑다 시람니게 어서 람차 청바 닝 타바데 로바 미중에서 라지 모벌레 두베 라제 두점야 매바라 자 계자다 계자서 거대게 남샤 탐제 켈랑베 초바 우마베 계주인 거죠. 다 간제 데려도 가서 대니에 라바 럽사 쉬바 가서 라시게 마주바 임바 인자 아니 지가서데다 지가 마주바 임바 인자 아니 지가서데 산제지 고 추구도 수부디게데 아니 라시게 마주바 임바 인자 안 추구도 수부 주요래 줄되거든 아니 줄되데 아니 람게 가서 아니 손나가 쳐다 이시가 쳐사고도 세치로 와야 람게 가서 이시가 쳐 아니 개바 담에 숨나서 버터네 쳐 타야바 사발라 때네 아니 되고 추수 군이 토그레스 토베 용거레스 거 샤투 그레스 간 라시가 두바이나 탑시 자와지를 요말 봐 라시가 뭐 두바이 인자 아니 탑시 되게 용토고 두스 탑시 되게 용토고 두스.
And so the first of these is then identifying the distinguishing feature of the Madhyamaka. So here saying that a disciple of the supreme vehicle will attain on reaching their goal the sublime embodiment of form and truth. In other words, the form body and the truth body. And that when they are on the path, and as was previously explained, the purpose is to complete the countless collections or full collections of both merit and wisdom through the performing all the practices of method and wisdom inseparably. And so this is what it relies on. And that here saying that in turn, this definitely relies upon attaining knowledge of the diversity of phenomena on the one hand, and this knowledge which understands that the relationship of cause and effect, conventional cause and effect, is such that if you have specific beneficial and harmful effects arise from specific causes. And so amassing these collections of merit and wisdom also relies, on the other hand, on certain knowledge of the real or true nature of phenomena. So we have, on the one hand, the diversity of phenomena, and then the true nature of phenomena. And this means reaching a profound certainty that all phenomena lack even a particle of essential or intrinsic existence or nature. And so certain knowledge of both the diversity and the real nature is needed, because without them it is impossible to gain a kind of to be able to practice the whole path of method and wisdom with true conviction. So therefore it is very important for us to understand the viability and the admissibility of all teachings on cyclic existence and on nirvana, in such that the agents and the objects of production are completely empty of any sort of real or true intrinsic existence, even from the atomical level, and that all of what is presented in the teachings works and is valid, not just even though that is so, but because that is so. And this is the unique distinctive feature of the Madhyamaka viewpoint. So that so it's saying, like as was being pointed out before, that because phenomena lack intrinsic existence, therefore the attainment of the two bodies of form, the form body, and the wisdom truth body. They are made possible because they are made possible in dependence upon being able to accumulate all the causes, isn't it, that give rise to the form body and the wisdom truth body. And that is what's being referred to on the path, how we complete really the two collections of merit and of wisdom, and that if phenomena, this is made possible because phenomena lack any intrinsic existence, and if phenomena had any intrinsic existence, this would be completely impossible.
And there's a language church with a new share to a Yamnachi and new share the book yesterday. That's the 6 of Chimana, Yamne, 6 of the Dogrimato, Shashay, Marwa. The same thing that never think so much. Rashing what we never think so much in Yavaina, that and the Quachi Caso de Guzovich Namshati get it up, what 10 enjoyment of Rosaminto sometimes. And there is up and then go with Digi, you'll think who doesn't you to be. And then Kwana Tana, Tawata Tamik about Duela, Tawata, you can say, and did that to be you check to Chagmido. They are running never Nibeton, and never think so, and you did love net when you to talk to a young way.
So, like, you know, just this presentation or just being able to understand what's being spoken here is kind of still very much a shallow presentation, shallow understanding that we have. That it's kind of really paying lip service to the notion of phenomena lacking any intrinsic existence and therefore, and so on. But what we need to do is to grab hold of really what is being implied here. What is the significance of a phenomena lacking any intrinsic existence, and more so, what that therefore implies, that they actually arise in dependence, that phenomena have this relative sense of existence, and that we must kind of feed our mind again and again with the reasoning that leads to that conclusion, and more again and again and again and again and again, to say on the one hand that phenomena had any intrinsic existence, and change, progress, transformation is rendered impossible. It could not happen. That actually all progress, transformation, change can only is only validated because things lack intrinsic existence, because that means they arise in dependence on cause, independence on condition, dependence on parts, on being imputed, and so on. So we have to be able to refine that reasoning to such a point that we have deep conviction in it from the depths of our heart, and that we see this is the way things actually are. They cannot be any other way. There is no other alternative. This is the true nature of reality. And so we can see then how much more veracity we have, more faith in the whole notion of cause, specific cause leading to specific result. That must inspire us to therefore train more, practice more, dedicate our lives more into what we now hold with such great conviction. And so it's very, very important that the results of our study, results of our contemplation, and so meditation actually bring that about. That we now see the formula is there. That I create virtuous causes, it will lead to the happiness that I so want. I avoid non-virtuous causes, it will lead to avoiding the suffering I certainly do not want. And that the presentation of causes that lead to the reasonable result of liberation, of the omniscient state of enlightenment, are valid, are worth dedicating my life towards. And so it all should lead to that point. Otherwise, it just stays as lip service. And if we have it just paying lip service to what the understanding is, then our practice will be subsequently kind of a lip service kind of practice as well.
Tene tuba tele nyaba ting suma yago shi yonga tu ane de kasa de rangshin ge tupsa me bati la nyaba ting suma yong tu ya wata ko de jikpe jikdo to chen rangshin ge ma tu ba za ko tene tuba le nyaba nye tu ya tene tuba yi ba yi za rangshin ge ma tu ba le nyaba nye tu le chi ko jik to la jik to tu ya chi ta de to tu ba yi na ane o me ta wa ta kala ka za cha tu yo re lam ye tu yo re Lam Rim Outline, then because the mature need to your head. And I'm saying a tower, and thought what you good one.
So the proper contemplation of emptiness is that on the one hand, we become more and more convinced and live our lives within the reality of dependence, of interdependence, dependent arising, and that this in turn is giving us more and more conviction also as to the lack of true existence of phenomena, the lack of intrinsic existence of phenomena. So that while on the one hand the notion, the reality of dependence is being augmented and is being strengthened and deepened, at the very same time the long-held habituated mistaken conviction in the true or intrinsic existence of phenomena is being eroded and undermined. And so this is it brings us closer to the Madhyamaka view, and it helps us to avoid also those two extremes mentioned earlier. So this is really worth putting everything we have into in order to integrate it into every facet of our life and practice. There should be no distinction in that sense. That from our making aspirational prayers to be able to quickly realize the middle way, the Madhyamaka view, to doing everything we can in terms of accumulating positive merit and purifying negativities, all the activities that might be classified under those two categories, and to be able to take our meditation into all the different activities we engage in life, whether eating and drinking or whatever we're doing. So that, in meditation we can formalize a meditation on emptiness, to analyze the body and mind, looking for this kind of king-like self-entity, to reach that point where it's the mere negation of the object of a negation, and hold that in our fixed meditation, and that's fine. But also to not just leave it like that and say, oh, I've done my meditation, now I'm going to take part in an ordinary life now, but rather that we are reminding ourselves all the time that whatever is appearing to us appears as if it really existed from its own side intrinsically, but I know that it doesn't exist in the way it appears. It is merely imputed. It arises independence. So you are informing yourself more and more and more as to the actuality of phenomena, and in this way, you become closer. You become closer and closer to the path of the middle way, the view of the middle way, and living your life accordingly.
Dada was it Deva the Maubala Tena, Dada was Shagu to Mento, Dada was answered to cut a nigumtua. Deva singing there, Dada was attended, Deva Shagu Yorumato, said Deva Shayamatua, to go to some metua. Mauba said that Dada the Mau, Deva the Mauba Nilatete, or Deva the Dada on Nil, Mauba Shagum the Sham, Mauba to some metua. The Kadiji Shagi in there. Party the to the Kadiji Shagi in Bajako, then Dava some mental. You did that, do what Nanga to the now, I mean to Yana into Chomon when the summer dungeon, and think never get up. The more you can nature, the more you can nature that on the Shibache. Shibachen and the top so twitch.
So, for example, we can use this analysis in terms of food that we eat. Take the subject food. This food that I'm about to eat, take the subject as food. It lacks any true existence because it is a dependent arising. It arises independence. So you go through that little syllogism for yourself. And so you see that even though it appears that it exists out there from its own side, I realized it doesn't exist actually in the way it appears. This would render it impossible to eat. It wouldn't be digestible, and so on. It would be kind of invalidate if it existed like that. So it can only exist independence. And so here you are working to erode the mistaken habituated tendency that we have to reify things just because they appear, and also you are again strengthening and cultivating the notion of dependence, that phenomena arise in dependence. And so this can also be referred to yourself, the notion of yourself, or your body. You can point at different the body and say, actually I can point to the actuality, the true existence of my body. But then you can undermine that notion, because you can say no. You can't actually point to the body and say that is the body. You're only pointing to a part of the body, and that the body arises in dependence upon the parts of the body. And so it's only in that sense, when you have the collection of all the parts, that you can actually just label what you have as body, as human body. That's all. that it doesn't have any objective or intrinsic existence of its own. And all of these kind of analyses are very important, kind of really reinforce what the correct view is and undermine what the mistaken point of view is. Again, time is another good example that one can use as the subject matter for analysis. Past, present, future, neither of which can be pointed to because they all exist independent or relative to the others. Like now is only now in relative to what was past and what is the future to come. But if you actually look for the past, again, it's only that which can be established in terms of what is now and what is in the future. And the future is only relative to what is in the past and what is here now. So there's no independently existent intrinsic time or time frame, for that matter, that everything arises in dependence upon everything else in that category. And so here, again, here, over there, even these demarcations are only possible to be labeled as such in dependence upon the other. Now here is only here relative to over there. Over there is only over there relative to here. And so here it's very important for us to become more and more aware of the actuality of things in this way, and to know. And to knowing will lead to realization. And thus self and other as well. It says, we can only posit myself here in relation to somebody else over there. Somebody else over there is only allowable to be posited in terms of myself over here. So that there's nothing actually that one can really put a finger on or point a finger to, other than it being arising independence. But that phenomena and people and so on do not lack existence. They have existence. It's the way that they exist that must be continuously clarified. That they do not exist in any intrinsic or objective way. But yes, they do have existence. They exist in dependence. For example, in dependence on parts or on being merely imputed by thought. And so this is what must be affirmed again and again in our day-to-day life. So for us, this process of acceding to the appearance, as really believing in that things really exist in the way they appear, that's such a very powerful habit for us. That it takes a long time to undermine and to kind of change that. And so we have to really understand how it is a mistaken mind. It is a mistaken conception. So it is a mind, it is a conception, but it is mistaken. And that here it's also, though very, very powerfully habituated, since beginningless time, no less, in our own mind streams. But it is just the same not backed up or supported by valid reasoning. And this is a very big plus for us. Because what we're trying to establish is the actuality of reality. of not acceding to the way things appear, to see the reality of the situation, which is valid and which is backed up by valid reasoning. And so, with understanding also that the process of acceding to the appearance that things actually exist in the way they appear, and from that comes the attitudes of attachment and aversion that lead to karmas and so on. Understanding that insidious process and how unwelcome that is and how undesirable that is, because we are trying to gain the true reality of the situation, that we will be more determined to no longer accede to the appearance of phenomena, but to see that they actually appear like that, sure, but that's not the way they really exist, and that attitude is backed up by valid reasoning, so it's worth supporting.
다 지담이 가서데 유대는 두바 나에 대다 장세 사주와 보다 난거 요래. 유대는 두바 나에 대 상계서는 아니 유대는 두바 난거 요 말이야. 와. 만도 시 유대는 두바 대다 sem제이나 나한테 요래. 다 얘네야다 미 가서데 돈이 또바다 마도 개와 용한테 요래. 와. 돈이 또바 되기 돈이 또도 아니 믹스되다 장세 파바 주인 바이나 유대는 두바 나왔대. 아니 나왔다게 디 제주 된거 말이야. 나왔다 나네 미팅바 임바지 냐바니 두고 요래 아니 딜라테나 차단도 로티가도 고두고 요래 나라도 나왔다게 대바지 발라테네 아니 차단도 로티가도 깨고 요래 내 개바 쇼고도 또 다데 나네 나왔다 마두바 임바지 아니 냐바니네 다 곰 그런다 답변에 가서데 사주 람가라 소바다데 곰네 다 지금 다 곰네 아니 간자서나 재미 바자다 제가 방도도 아니 나는 밑에부터 연구요 말이야. 대 상계에서 잡아와. 상계의 심정 개발이 연구요.
And so one of the great differences between Buddha and beings is that, of course, the mistaken appearance of phenomena as being objectively or intrinsically existent doesn't even appear to a Buddha's mind. So this is important, that on the path that when we are meditating on emptiness, even that even arising from that meditation, that things still appear as if they really intrinsically truly existed. But for somebody who has realized emptiness, that even though now they're arising from that meditative absorption, where they're abiding in the true nature of reality, that they are recognizing things still appear to them as if they truly and intrinsically existed, but they no longer believe in that. They no longer accept that. And so they can again put forward the analysis that things lack any objective existence. They do not exist in the way they appear. So they're not operating under the control of that appearance, because they no longer conceptualize the world in that way. And so therefore they are not thereafter operating through attachment and aversion like we are. And so this is very important to see that then from the point of view then of refining that viewpoint in and out of meditative absorption to the tense ground on the bodhisattva, where even like in my subtle appearances of intrinsic reality don't appear, and they cleanse even the imprints of that mistaken viewpoint, that mistaken attitude, and thereby attain enlightenment, where the mistaken attitude doesn't even appear, or intrinsic reality doesn't even appear to that mind. And so that, and then that's why we say too that from when one attains enlightenment, one attains Buddhahood, there is no distinction between a Buddha's meditative absorption and post meditation. But for sentient beings, yes, there is that distinction, that there is the time that they are in meditative absorption, and the time when they arise from that, known as the post-meditation period.
답변에 심지어는 토슈답데 사주바와 사주바 제답 내가서 군조를 주는 거 요래 아니 가서데 가서 최답자 조건에 나와는 유된도 받는 거 요래 이나 나왔다도 대신 요 말와 요로다 다 냠샤 가서는 아니 군조를 주는 거 요 말와 가자 가sam다가라 나한테 요 봐 이나다 산젤다 냠샤다 제답 가서다 로냐 말이.
And so on the Bodhisattva grounds then, until the 10th ground, that this process is continues, that there is this period of meditative absorption and then arising from that, where the practitioner must again deal with the appearance of phenomena arising as intrinsically existent, but that becomes more and more refined, more and more less frequent as one proceeds through the grounds until the point of the 10th ground, where even the most subtle appearances of phenomena as being intrinsically existent no longer appear to that mind, and then one eradicates all obscurations, even at the a point at level of imprint or seeds, and then one attains that state of enlightenment where there is no distinction between a Buddha's meditative absorption and the post-meditative period. So let's leave it there for today.
존나 근데 좋아 매버려. 다지에서 동반이라 내가 그제 니가 저게 렌데는 내가 숙제를 줘. 근데 동반이라 게 내가 그제 니가 저게 렌데를 내가 숙제를 줘. 다가는 렌데를 내가 숙제를. 아니 다가는 저게 동반이라 내가 숙제가 저게 남바대 남바 비다가 차에. 남바디. 아니 뭐냐 저거 저 가서는 잠도 비다가 요에. 용도와 잠도 비다가 요거래. 아니 지금 되는 용도를 다 가자 지금 동반이는 예반이에 저게 되는 건 렌데 야가 비다가 하고 돼. 거의 랑싱의 마두가 임바 인자 아니 교대 깨라라래다. 아니 거기 아니 지금 가서 된다. 아니 될때는 오다. 냐와스네 예체 이다스네 예초에. 로아 아니 타바다 탐제 겸바 예초에 거 규지 요와는 제고 용고로 왔어. 좋아 규칙 아니 규도를 때려 규도에 상그 요거도나 아니 저것들에 용쳐야지 아고 강가지 소소 무엇을 마통아 이바 있네야 거 리베 남네 아니 네바니 도에 좀 하셔 봐.
So this habituating to this correct way of seeing the world and seeing reality has a very all-pervasive significance for the whole path, one's practice, and every aspect of one's life and practice. That this recognizing the object to be negated and to clarifying and cultivating the notion of dependent origination is extremely important to gaining conviction about the path as a whole and all the individual subject matters of the path. That from conviction with regard to the true nature of reality, what is meant by a lack of intrinsic existence, and what is the consequence of that, meaning that therefore all phenomena arise in dependence. This is profound. It makes for the one who has deep conviction in that as a Buddhist, it makes you an excellent Buddhist. It is something that also deepens and makes more profound your own refuge, going for refuge. It certainly clarifies and makes more integrates the whole notion of the law of cause and effect in your daily life, in all your doings, because you can see that the lack of intrinsic existence validates the law of cause and effect. That you can see that, therefore, because things operate independence, that if a certain cause is laid down, it's reasonable to assume that it will lead to a certain result. And therefore I'm in the business of creating virtuous causes that I reasonably assume will lead to beneficial or happy results, and so on. So it should really further inspire one in one's practice, in one's dedicating every waking and sleeping moment of one's life to the Dharma. And so that is, not necessarily something that we can see directly, but we can now infer through reasoning the veracity, the validity of this point of view, and we can gain more and more conviction as to all of what's presented in the path, and see that it is very reasonable and worth our best efforts. So leave it for there. And do the Lam Rim dedication prayer. From my two collections, vast as space, that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives and judgment. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings, with the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time, by even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere.